Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Marky Picks and welcome back to our 2026 college football preview series. Next Big Ten team up, we got the Minnesota Golden Gophers in this preview. Now, this is a team that I am very high on this season. I think they could be a dangerous team to look out for. Deshawn thinks they will be as well. Can't wait for you guys to hear our full thoughts on this team. If you guys missed any of our other previews here in this series, check out the dedicated playlist on the channel right now to go back and our full thoughts and analysis on for every single one of these teams. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's go ahead and dive into the season preview for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. All right, so next up, we've got the Minnesota Golden Gophers, and this is another team that I think belongs in the middle to upper tier of the Big Ten this season. I've got Minnesota finishing 8-4. 5-4 in conference. Deshawn has them just one game lower at 7-5, 4-5 in the Big Ten. So, I think Minnesota is one of those teams that might not get a ton of national attention entering this season, but when you actually look at this roster, the coaching, and where some of the biggest games are being played at, this is a dangerous football team. PJ Fleck has been there for a long time now, and regardless of whether people love his style of play or not, his teams are normally disciplined, physical, and extremely difficult to deal with at home. And the biggest reason I'm buying Minnesota a lot this year is Drake Lindsey returning at quarterback. Last season was his first full year as the starter, and he's still thrown for nearly 2,400 yards with 18 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions while helping Minnesota win 8 games last year. He was a highly rated quarterback coming into the program. He's got great size at 6'5", and now he gets another year to develop in this system after already starting 13 games last year. I don't think Minnesota needs him to suddenly become the best quarterback in the Big Ten, but if he becomes more consistent and creates a few more explosive plays, this offense could take a pretty significant step forward. It also helps that Darius Taylor is back at running back. Taylor has been one of the most talented players on this roster for the last few years, and when he's healthy, he's the type of back that can really carry an offense and completely control a football game. Minnesota also added veteran A.J. Turner and T.J. Thomas through the portal, so they shouldn't have to put, so much pressure on Taylor, give him some depth. And, at receiver, Jalen Smith returns after emerging as one of the Lindsey's most trusted weapons last year, and they added Perry Thompson from Auburn along with experienced slot receiver Javon Tracy. So, Thompson was a highly rated recruit with, a lot of physical talent. And, I think Minnesota is hoping a bigger role can really finally unlock some of that potential that he has. Javon Tracy, he gives him an experienced guy in the slot. You got Noah Jennings and Zion Steptoe to add some more depth in this room as well. They also brought in Caden Helms from Oklahoma at tight end. So it gives Lindsey another experienced target over the middle. The offensive line brings back Greg Johnson, Ashton Beers, and Tony Nelson on the interior. You got Nathan Roy, who returns at left tackle, and Tennessee transfer Bennett Warren is projected to take over at right tackle. So I don't really know if this will be an elite offensive line, but having an experienced interior should help Taylor and Lindsey a little bit more, become stable in this situation here in his second season. Defensively, Minnesota did suffer one massive loss that I know Deshawn is going to be very excited about, with Coy Parrish transferring to Oregon. That's going to be a massive loss. Parrish was one of the best safeties and most dynamic overall players on this team. So, replacing his production on defense and special teams is not going to be easy. They also had a lot of turnover at defensive tackle, lost some depth throughout the secondary. So this defense isn't without questions. The good news is they retained 2 of their most important leaders in Anthony Smith and Maverick Baranowski. You got Smith, he's back after establishing himself as one of the better defensive linemen in the conference. Baranowski gives them an experienced and productive middle linebacker. You got Jackson Howard, who also returns off the edge. Minnesota added T.J. Bush Jr. from Cal to give them some pass rush ability as well. It's another proven guy. They really completely rebuilt the defensive tackle room. You got Naquan Crowder coming over from Marshall. You got Zion Chapman coming over from FIU, Sid Kaba. So, there are a lot of new faces inside, but at least they attack the weaknesses very, very aggressively. And in the secondary, Kerry Brown and Aiden Gooseby return at safety. You got John Nestor, Aiden West, and Parker Nustin. They're among the projected starters at the corner and nickel spots here on this defense. West, he's kind of a new addition from Michigan State. Minnesota also added Mekhi Smith and several other defensive backs to try and replace the loss of Coy Parrish and the other departures. So, I still think the defense is the biggest question rather than the offense is because they allowed too many explosive plays last season. But I think flex teams are normally tough and organized enough to, stay competitive. And, the schedule is where I think Minnesota becomes a real trap team. They open up with 3 home games against Eastern Illinois, Mississippi State, and Akron. So they have a very realistic opportunity to begin the season undefeated at 3-0 and really let Lindsey and the new additions get comfortable. Then they travel to Washington, which is going to be difficult. But right after that, they get Michigan. That comes to Minnesota. That's exactly the type of game I'm talking about when I say the Gophers can ruin somebody's season. And you got Michigan that, might be the more talented team there, but going into Minnesota and playing a physical, well-coached team with an experienced quarterback and running back is not going to be an easy assignment. Iowa also comes to Huntington Bank Stadium. You got UCLA, Northwestern later in the year. The road games are much tougher because they have to travel to Washington, Indiana, and Penn State, and they finish the season at Wisconsin on a Friday night. Those road trips are probably going to be what keeps me from pushing Minnesota into the 9 or 10 win range. But at home, I think they can beat almost anybody on this schedule. So if a contender comes into Minneapolis here and, is overlooking them or thinking about, the following week, Minnesota has the quarterback, rushing game, and coaching to make them pay for it. That's why I have the Gophers finishing 8-4, 5-4 in the Big Ten. I trust PJ Fleck. I think Drake Lindsey, takes a nice step forward here in his second season as the starter. And I love the combination of Lindsey and Darius Taylor leading this offense. They aren't one of my college football playoff picks, but I think they are absolutely capable of upsetting one of those teams and finishing in the upper half of this conference. So, Deshawn, I'll throw it over to you. We're only one game apart here, but what keeps you from getting Minnesota to 8 wins like I do? And, do you agree that this could be one of the most dangerous home teams in the Big Ten?
Yeah, definitely. They could definitely be one of the most dangerous home teams in the Big Ten just because, look at that home slate right there. They really drew a bunch of mid-tier to bottom-tier teams at home, except for Michigan. But even then, that's a good spot for Minnesota. They got to protect home field, and they usually play really, really well at home anyway under PJ Fleck. They have an underrated home field advantage as well. Drake Lindsey, he's one of the more veteran quarterbacks in the Big Ten. Not really talked about a whole lot, but this Minnesota team could definitely fly under the radar. It's just, what are they going to do on the road? They really don't play well when they go on the road, but, you got to go to Washington, Bloomington, Indiana. You got to go to Camp Randall to end the season. You got to go to Penn State. Just a tough draw on the road game. So maybe if you can steal maybe 2 of those, then you may be in a very, very good spot because, like I said, those home games for you are very, very favorable. And like I said, I also trust PJ Fleck. I know he's going to get the most out of his guys week in and week out. This is just one of those teams that are very physical, and they play a certain style ball. And if you stop them, you stop them. But if it's working, they going to keep on trucking at it. And like I said, this is just one of those mid-tier teams that, if they get an upset or two, can vault maybe even to double-digit wins.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's all about those road games right there. How do you do when you have to travel? For me.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. So they open up the season with a favorable home slate here. You get Eastern Illinois in week 1, Mississippi State in week 2, and then Akron. So I don't really see them having any trouble here against Eastern Illinois here. I think this is a Thursday night game as well to open up the season. Yeah, Minnesota's going to look really good here. They're going to get those new transfer additions in here. could help the defense look a lot better. And I think it's what helps them here in week 2 when they take on Mississippi State, which is going to be a lot better competition. But it's a team I think Minnesota is better than. I really do. Again, go check out the Mississippi State preview. You guys haven't already. Me and Deshawn don't really think much from this team. They have a really talented quarterback, Kamario Taylor, but this is really his first year taking over that offense and coming out here to a tough Big Ten road environment. I think he's going to struggle a little bit. I could see this game being really close, really, really, competitive, but Minnesota should have what it takes. I trust their offense more, and I think defensively they can find ways to get some stops here, and I think Minnesota will be able to prevail there. And then against Akron, Akron has been a really bad MAC team. Not really expecting much from them here. So 3-0 start from Minnesota here to open up the season should be very, very good. Deshawn, what about you?
Yeah, opening the season up at home against Eastern Illinois, they're 43.5-point favorites. And honestly, I'm gonna take the 43.5. Is for me, I don't know if Eastern Illinois scores. So maybe an Eastern Illinois team total under as well. So Minnesota shouldn't have any problems there. Mississippi State, an SEC team coming over. They face a Big Ten team. And this is where the Big Ten is just going to be too much for them. Like I said, this Minnesota home field advantage is real.
Yeah.
And they play very, very well at home. Like, it's drastically different. And you get a bottom tier, in my opinion, SEC team coming into a mid-tier Big Ten team. I don't think it bodes well for Mississippi State. Honestly, I think Minnesota will probably be or should be a touchdown favorite in this game. If not, then I'm all over Minnesota. I'm all over Minnesota because I don't think this game will relatively be close, in my opinion. I think this Minnesota defense can absolutely shut down Taylor and that Mississippi State offense, especially getting them in week 2. This is just, getting them early, I think will bode well for Minnesota. So they shouldn't have any problems there. Then Akron stinks. They shouldn't have any problems with them, even though they got a look ahead spot going to Washington the very next week. Akron shouldn't bode any problems.
Yeah, a little shout out to Akron's head coach, Joe Moorhead, I believe. Joe Moorhead, former Penn State offensive coordinator during the Saquon Barkley years. Had some great moments at Penn State, but he went out to Mississippi State and his career just fell off. He's at Akron, can't even make Akron a winning program. So, don't know what's going on with that program. Just thought I should throw that out there. But then they go on the road to take on Washington and open up Big Ten play. If you guys have not checked out our Washington preview, go check it out. It is arguably one of the best home environments in the Big Ten. Tough place to go out there and play. And, if this game was at home in Minnesota, I'd be leaning Minnesota. But getting this game at Washington, it's going to be a tough spot. Okay, Drake Lindsey going out here, he's going to have to make some plays. He's going to have to, okay, because you can't just rely on Darius Taylor here in the run game because I think Washington will look to key him out. It's going to be all on Lindsey, I think, to make some plays, and I think he might make some mistakes here, might miss some throws, throw some interceptions, which can happen going out to a hostile environment. I don't think it bodes well here for Minnesota, so Washington will get the win here in this one. Deshawn, what about you?
Yeah, and this is just one of those spots where we talking about Minnesota having to go on the road and face a good Washington team. Like I said, with also another really, really good home field advantage up there in Husky Stadium. Like I said, teams traveling to the West Coast that usually don't bode well. I think Washington can really put it on Minnesota here. So, in my opinion, Washington wins big.
And then they come back home to set up the trap games of all trap games. Man, I will be massive Minnesota fans here in this one. I will be betting Minnesota here on the spread. I'd probably be betting them on the money line as well. I'm not going to give them the outright win here, but I will just say this. Minnesota will probably win this game. I'm just going to say it right now because I just really am not a believer in Michigan. I am not. I mean, okay, a little bit of bias there. I hate Michigan, but this just seems like a great matchup for Minnesota to get. Out of all like the top heavy Big Ten teams, I think they match up with Michigan the best out of all of them. Just because of the way the style of play, the way these two teams play. Both kind of run heavy teams. And if Minnesota can get some defensive stops, I think they can go score for score on offense with Michigan. And it's really going to come down to the Minnesota defense in this one, because if they can stop the rushing game, which is hard to do against Michigan, but I believe the home crowd is going to be rocking here, and they have what it takes to pull off an upset. I'm not gonna lean it, but I will probably betting it once we get to this week of season. So go Minnesota, take down Michigan, but Michigan, I'm going to give them the win here. Deshawn, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going to also give Michigan the win here. I could also see this game being very, very close. For me, if Michigan comes in here a touchdown or more favorite, I'm on Minnesota. Yeah. I do think Minnesota can get an upset win here as well, but I just think that the talent from Michigan will be too much, especially like down the stretch late in the game. I think Michigan owns the slight defensive edge here. And I think both offenses, in my opinion, can be a wash. And then Minnesota owns the home field advantage. That's why I would take Minnesota ATS. But I just think that Michigan is just more equipped to grind out a tough, low-scoring game and get the win. So I'm going to slightly lean Michigan, but I could see an upset.
And they go on the road at Purdue the week after. You know, regardless if they do beat Michigan or not, I don't really see any mental layover happening here at Purdue. Purdue's going to be a bad team. Yes, you got to go on the road here. It's one of these games that Purdue can see themselves, hey, we got a little bit of a middle-tier team we could try to win. I still don't see it. Minnesota, I just like this program a whole heck of a lot more than Purdue. So, yeah, I think that the Minnesota's offense will start to click here in this game, because they may have some offensive, lapses at Washington against Michigan. I think they get fixed here at Purdue, and it could spell good things for the rest of the season for Minnesota. So, Deshawn, what about you?
Yeah, after two tough back-to-back games at Washington and home against Michigan, you can kind of rest easy, just because I think Purdue is going to be really, really bad. You go to West Lafayette, you should be able to just ground and pound on Purdue, honestly. I think Minnesota owns the advantage everywhere, offensively, defensively, coaching, quarterback, you name it. Minnesota has the advantage other than home field advantage. So Minnesota, for me, this should be a nice little break, because after that, I mean, you get another team that just grounds and pound all day.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is your break, because, I mean, look at the rest of your schedule. You got some pretty solid teams you got to play the rest of the way here. And, you get a bye week entering this stretch, which I think is crucial. You get to stay home and prepare for Iowa, which you already know it's going to be a physical, grounded pound style of play. But, man, we haven't got to the Iowa preview yet. But, this is an Iowa team that I'm really not trusting as much as I have in years past teams, which is strange. But I just think this is the year that the Iowa team will start to die down a little bit. And I just trust Minnesota's offense a whole heck of a lot more than Iowa's. Field position is going to be crucial in this game, but I just think Minnesota can honestly move the ball here against Iowa's defense, because I do think the game at Purdue will start to, figure out some of their offensive game plan and how they're going to want to attack teams. Because, again, Iowa's defense is going to be good, but playing at Washington against Michigan, I think it's going to prepare them a lot better for a team like Iowa, and I think Minnesota looks good. They get to stay at home off a bye week. Minnesota should be able to dominate this game, actually. I'm really not seeing this game being relatively close, which is kind of surprising. But, Deshawn, what about you?
Yeah, I love this spot for Minnesota right here. I don't think this game is going to be close either. I'm not in love with Iowa's offense. I'm not in love with Iowa's quarterback situation either.
Yeah,
I just don't know who the freak that guy is. So, this is going to be, like I said, another low-scoring, heavy defensive battle. But like I said, Minnesota being at home is going to level up their play. They'll have their fans right behind them. I think this is going to be a down year for Iowa, because Iowa is just the epiphany of mid. Steady 7-8. Maybe you'll get a 9-win season, but they're like steady at 7-8. And you can just always rely on Kirk Ferentz to just be just nice and steady.
Yeah.
I think this year it's different. I think they take a plunge. It's about time. And I think Minnesota will definitely take advantage of it. This is going to be a nasty game, but I think Minnesota just pounds the rock a lot better.
Yeah. And they go on the road at Indiana. Man, if this game was at home, I would be loving Minnesota with a potential upset here. Just because I think that game at Purdue, again, just seeing how their schedule's shaking out so far. You open the season 3-0, go on the road at Washington, which is going to be a humble, awakening for Minnesota. You get a great spot against Michigan at home. You come up a little bit short, but hey, you were right there, had a chance to win. Then you go at Purdue, get back on track, get a bye week, take down Iowa, and then sets up a game at Indiana. If this game was at Minnesota, I would be leaning Minnesota with an upset. But at Indiana, I'm not seeing it. I mean, I can see Minnesota giving up a great fight, but if Indiana loses at home here, that would be surprising. I would be shocked if Minnesota comes on the road and pulls off an upset. If I'm shocked that would happen, I'm not seeing it happen. So I'm going to go ahead and give Indiana the win in this one. Deshawn, how about you?
Yeah, I heavily lean Indiana here. Indiana's not going to lose at home, especially not to Minnesota. This is almost going to be like Minnesota coming to Eugene when we play them. It's just going to be a game where they just do not belong. And Indiana's going to run that RPO style offense. They got good receivers. They have a damn good defense. Indiana owns the edge in every aspect of this game. Quarterback, offense, defense, coaching, home field, you name it. It's Indiana. I don't think Indiana struggles at all in this game.
And they come back home and get ready to take on another similar type of team in UCLA. And this is going to be one of those coin flip style games for me as well. Okay, guys, I'm not checking out the UCLA preview. Go check it out. It's another team that I am very high on this year. I think they will be a much improved UCLA team. And honestly, I think UCLA matches up pretty well against Minnesota, but I like the fact that Minnesota is at home here. Again, college football playoffs out of the question probably at this point for Minnesota. And, you're just looking to keep building good momentum. And I think they can get a nice little solid home win here because this is a UCLA team that's in a similar spot as Minnesota. So who's more motivated team? I would probably lean the home team right now. So go ahead and give me Minnesota here in a close one. But I do think Minnesota can pull it out here. It should be a pretty close, entertaining game to watch, but I think Minnesota can get it done. Deshawn, how about you?
Damn, we're just right in sync. I also think UCLA can come to Minnesota and kind of compete, which is crazy because UCLA is that team that has to travel. Minnesota has a big game the very next week going to Penn State. Big game. And I think it'll be a look-ahead spot for them. And I think UCLA with Nico Iamaleava and that offense can definitely compete here. I think UCLA owns the offensive advantage, in my opinion, but Minnesota owns the defensive advantage. Minnesota should be able to escape with a win, but this is going to be closer than a lot of people think.
Yeah. And they go on the road at Penn State the next week. And I think this game might actually be a night game, which would not go well for Minnesota here in this spot. I remember the last time we played Minnesota in a night game was in the whiteout a few years ago. Minnesota, they actually put up a good fight in the first half, but second half we were able to put them away. I think that's what happens here. I honestly could see Minnesota put up a good fight here for a half, but at this point in the season, Penn State can't afford to lose this game, and I don't think we will. So, I don't know what to expect this point in the season for Penn State because it's a different coaching style. James Franklin, he wouldn't lose this game, but maybe Matt Campbell is the guy that will lose some of these weaker teams. I don't know what to expect here. I hope not. But again, I like that we're at home here. Potential night game. Yeah, it's not going to be a good spot for Minnesota, especially at this point in the season. Minnesota is trying to play spoiler on Penn State. They try to, but Penn State just too much experience with the quarterback system, coaching, and just all around better talent. So Penn State's able to pull it out. Deshawn, about you?
Yeah, this is going to come back to, what type of Minnesota team are we going to get on the road? And I don't think it's going to be good. I don't think it's going to be good at all. Penn State, another really, really, really good team. really good defense. I think their offense is going to be really good. And on top of that, they're at home. I don't think it's going to bode well for Minnesota. I think their road problems are going to really tell you who they are. Because, like I said, if Minnesota can pull off maybe 1-2 road upsets, then they can be right in the thick of things. I think their road woes do continue this year, and they also dropped this game at Penn State.
I will say this: I'm glad we're playing this at Penn State, not at Minnesota, because this will be another one of those games where I honestly could see us losing. But love that we're getting it at home here. That's a good break for us. And then the next week they take on Northwestern at home, and this is another one of those similar style coin flip games for me. If this was at Northwestern, I'd lean Northwestern. Getting this at Minnesota, I'm going to lean Minnesota. These are two similar type of teams as well. I just think I trust Minnesota a little bit more in this spot. I mean, both these teams are probably in similar spots in this point of the season. Maybe Northwestern's a little bit more fighting for bowl eligibility at this point. Regardless, I think Minnesota can come out here and get the win. Just be the theme of Minnesota's season, senior day, and look at their schedule. I mean, they've won every single home game except for one. So, and that one that they lost to Michigan, I honestly could have seen them winning. But it's a tough home environment. It's a similar type of situation to Washington. A team that plays well at home, not so much on the road. That's kind of what I'm leaning on here for Minnesota this season. So they take care of Northwestern, get ready for the rivalry on the road at Wisconsin the next week. Deshawn, how about you?
Yeah, I think Minnesota absolutely clobbers Northwestern here. I don't see this game being close at all. I think Aiden Childs is going to struggle, especially in this environment in Minnesota in late November. It's going to be cold, maybe even snowing. Who knows? But Minnesota loves that weather. It's a huge advantage for them. And on top of that, senior day, final home game of the season. And as you can see, they've been going stupid, dummy, crazy at the crib. I just don't see this game being close at all. I think Northwestern struggles badly here. Minnesota gets the win, puts them at 7-4. One more win, and they can match last season's win total.
I don't know about that game being a blowout.
Wow.
I don't know. I'm higher on Northwestern than Deshawn is, so that's probably why he's thinking like that. But yeah, we'll see. I think it'll be a great close game. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout. But we'll move on to the next week. They go at Wisconsin in a rivalry game here, and this is a big game for Wisconsin. If you guys go back to my preview here in Wisconsin, I believe Deshawn as well. We both had them at 5-5 entering this game. So one win to save Luke Fickell's job here at Wisconsin, or potentially lose his job here at Wisconsin. Wisconsin's got all the advantages in this game. They're at home. They're playing for bowl eligibility. On the flip side, Minnesota coming on the road, final week, not really playing for much other than to, try to beat last year's win total. But motivational factors, I don't know if they'll be there for Minnesota. They're all there for Wisconsin. They have everything to play for in this game. Again, playing for the coach, playing for a bowl game, playing to try to get that program back to a winning culture. In a night game in Camp Randall, I got Minnesota going on the road and getting a big-time road win. Their first big road win of the season. They're going to get it done because I think up to this point, they're going to learn a lot better things to go on the road and play. They don't want to go throughout this whole season being the team that lost all the road games. They want to try to pick up, I guess you could throw Purdue in there as a road game, but like a real, true road game, this could be the one that Minnesota can get. And I think they come out here and get it done. I really do. Similar type teams as well. Colton Joseph, I do like a lot, but I think I just trust the combination of Drake Lindsey and Darius Taylor a whole lot more. Probably could be Darius Taylor's final game because I don't know if he will play in the bowl game. He'll probably opt out. So this might be Darius Taylor's final game in college. He's going to look the ball out. It's going to be one of those spots where it's going to be a great game, but I think Minnesota can pull it out late, maybe with the game-winning field goal. It just breaks the hearts of Wisconsin. It'll probably break Luke Fickell's job tenure here at Wisconsin here. So, yeah, Minnesota, big road win. Deshawn, what about you?
Man, in a rivalry game, on the road at Camp Randall in a night game, Senior day for Wisconsin, final home game of the season. They need this game for bowl eligibility. Luke Fickell needs this game to save his job. All the factors are leaning to Minnesota, like you said. I mean, to Wisconsin. Wisconsin's going to get the win here. They're at home. Wisconsin's not going to lose this game. They're going to want to take it to Minnesota. I think Wisconsin wins this game by 10 points, honestly. I think Wisconsin wins by double digits. It's because they're going to want this game a whole lot more than Minnesota. They're going to come out here and play their hearts out. This may be the best game that they've probably played all season. They're going to save it for this one right here, especially with everything at stake. I mean, Minnesota, they've already clinched bowl eligibility. They just want to see if they can be better than last season, match their win, stuff like that. That's it. But everything points to a Wisconsin win, and I'm going to give them the win right here. I think Wisconsin is definitely good enough, especially being at home. I think these two defenses are very, very good. That can be a wash. I like Cone Joseph as well. I think both offenses can be a wash as well. So that leaves me, who's at home, it's Wisconsin. So I'll take Wisconsin right here to drop Minnesota to 7-5 and 4-5 in conference.
Yeah, I can definitely see it. So we went through their entire schedule, got them at 8 wins. He got them at 7 wins. We only disagree on that last game. So what is their win total set at?
Currently, right now, you can get Minnesota's over on the win total at 6.5. It's right there for me. Like, it's just, what are they going to do on the road? Like, East Illinois, Mississippi State, Akron should all be wins. You should go on the road and beat Purdue. You can beat Iowa at home. That's 5. I think you're going to beat Northwestern at home. That's 6 right there. So it's like, okay, now you got Washington, Indiana, Penn State, Wisconsin, UCLA at home, and Michigan. Can you just get another one? Can you get another one to get to 7? Honestly, I would lean towards the over 6.5. I think it's very likely. For me, like I said, I just don't see Minnesota sitting at 6-6. They're too good for that.
Yeah,
that's just not who they are. And this team has the talent. They have the coaching. Like I said, even if they win all their home games, and even if they still drop the game to Michigan, that's what, 3, 4, 5. That's, like I said, that's 6 wins. You only need to find one more win. You can get that at Purdue. So they get the 7. So I'm definitely going to be on the over. You can get the over right now at plus 130. Them to get the 7 wins. I think that's very, very affordable. I think it's a really, really good bet, especially because, like I said, you're looking at these teams who have, quarterbacks that's been in their systems for a while and veteran-led teams with coaches that's been there for a while. This is a team that has all that, and they have a good home field advantage. So give me Minnesota in there over 6.5 win total. I will definitely take the plus 130.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that as well. I mean, like I said in the intro, they are going to be a trap team of all trap teams, and I honestly could see them beating Michigan. I will be betting them against Michigan. If I'm going to be betting them against Michigan, I might as well go ahead and take their over win total because they're a damn solid team. I think the floor is 6 wins. Ceiling, I could see them getting up to 9 or 10. It's another one of these Big Ten middle of the pack teams where ceiling's high, floor could be a little low, but that's why we all got them somewhat in the middle. It's kind of where I could see them fit in at. So this is a Minnesota team that I think is well coached. Defensively is where this team will be, I think be decided. Because I think offensively they're going to be a damn solid bunch. Defensively, they got a lot of question marks. But I do trust PJ Fleck and his coaching staff to put these players in right spots and get them nice little design plays to figure out that defense this season. So, yes, I'm worried about the defense, but I think the defense will get figured out, especially when they get in the meat of this schedule. I think Minnesota has a solid chance to be a sneaky good team in this conference, but they should be no worse than 7 wins. I mean, I know 4-6, but they should definitely be able to get to 7 wins here. They're just too talented enough not to get to 7 wins. So, Deshawn, any final thoughts on Minnesota before we wrap this up?
Yeah, Minnesota's a bona fide bowl team. I mean, that's what they are. They're bound to make a bowl this season. Like I said, this team, like I said, is just one of those teams that middle of the pack, but they're very physical. They have good coaching. Offenses and defenses can match a lot of these teams in the Big Ten. They drew a semi-decent schedule as well. I think this is a team that's definitely going to protect home field as well. It's just, can you get 1 or 2 on the road? So, like I said, this Minnesota team, I don't know if they, in terms of my prediction, I don't think they match last year's regular season win total, but I do think that 6.5, I think they can get over that.
So that's it for this one. Let us know your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you guys agree with us, you guys believe a lot more in Minnesota than we do, or do you guys think they're going to be a little bit of a down year for them? Like, hear what you guys are thinking. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out the dedicated playlist on the channel right now to go back and get our full thoughts and analysis on for every single one of these teams. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next preview.